Do you love your weekly tea time with Christopher? Then you'll love him spilling more tea over at SeriousJoy.com with a series of tea time vibe videos that help you better connect with each state of awareness. From step 0, I protect, to step 11, I become. So grab yourself a cup of tea and get to know Step Astrology with a subscription to Serious Joy.
It's the second week in August and the third week in Leo. And as the summer heat indexes goes up, so does the drama with the signs. Virgos are shadowboxing this week. Aries reveal they actually do have artistic ability, and Leos boil over with drama as usual. Recording live from the Sensei Studios in Palm Springs, California, this is Namaste Today. Greetings and blessings to you, my galactic friends and earthly neighbors. Welcome to Namaste Today. I'm your host, Sensei Christopher Oteki, a cosmic comedian, if you will, to come week after week, helping guide the 12 zodiac signs in their ascension and help to define what the ascension process is. And right now we have the Earth and Sun transiting the Leo transit, which means Leo flare is here, and we have lots of signs in the headlines. For instance, whenever the Earth is touring the sign of Leo, human drama is amplified, and unfortunately, some bad performances do come out from hiding. Now, Capricorns in this time, if you're a Capricorn, hold the potential to cheat and abuse their power. For instance, Capricorn state of Texas. Right now in Texas, Republicans are pushing to redraw congressional maps early, aiming to secure up to 5 more House seats for the 2026 midterms, which some argue is an aggressive form of partisan gerrymandering. Democrats have fled the state to block the vote by breaking quorum and delaying the process. The Capricorns. But in brighter news, the sun is in Leo, and so Virgos are ascending right now. And they're experiencing spiritual wrap-ups of the old karmic year and also preparing for their upcoming birthday around the corner. A good example of this, step 12 Virgo, Beyonce. She is an example because she just wrapped up her cowboy tour in Vegas last week, and she's just recently landed a rich branding deal with Levi Jeans. There's rebirth for you right there. But perhaps the most spectacular drama comes from the birthday Leos themselves. By example, Step 11 Leo, Meghan Markle, who sparked typical Leo self-importance headlines around her birthday, first by skipping that Beyonce concert where her friends attended, so she got criticism for that. But second, her podcast, Confessions of a Female Founder. She's actually stirred controversy because it sounds like it comes from the title of an existing podcast, Confessions of a CEO. The title was criticized for, quote, lacking originality from The Guardian and Standard, and, quote, self-indulgence and lacking substance with too much focus on Meghan herself. Well, of course, that's what we call here a Leo, do we not, Your Majesty? But before we get into the details of the headlines, each 12 signs, let's take a look at the week's moods and your zodiac weather. If you're watching on YouTube, please be kind and do subscribe. Hit the bell button so you're notified of our live. And if you don't mind, please like this video so the Google algorithm will actually suggest us to other astrology fans. If, however, you're watching on Facebook, X.com, Instagram, or LinkedIn, please leave a comment telling us why you're here, what you enjoy, and what you'd like to learn next. Or if you can, like or thumbs up. And for those who are watching in our chat room tonight, say hello to your friends across the world. Tell us what your sign is, where you're coming from, and let's unite our power of light. We are in the month of Leo, friends. I do say the month of Leo because I believe months should be drawn by the sign. That's what makes more sense to me. And in this month of Leo, we are titling it The Quiet Truth of the Heart. This is activated by self-love. And what we mean by quiet truth is we are activating something our heart has wished for, maybe for a very long time, but never given ourselves for whatever reason. Most of the reasons I believe had to do with our karma, our drama, the traumas born and birthed into our subconscious and coming up as us acting out and getting into bad relationships and really taking our life down nowhere paths. That would be everything up until this moment, frankly. The planet shows that we're upon a new time, a new era of love. And interestingly enough, it might be the rebirth of a new Atlantis. I'll talk more about that later. This week, we cover Saturday, August 9th to the 15th in this episode. We're going to be moving from step 17 to step 23, Leo. Step 17, the beginning of the step, is where you will commit to a life that you love, one that is enjoyable. And believe it or not, even though Earth can suck at most times, it was not designed to be that way. It was designed to be literally heaven on earth. That term comes from really the blueprint of what the kingdom of heaven was trying to do, allegedly, build a life in the flesh that replicated and was just like the magnificent life in spirit. And here we are upon a new opportunity to do just that. This week, what we're doing is committing to a daily life that moves into the direction of a life you absolutely enjoy, sort of like life being a vacation the entire time. And by the end of this week, we'll be at step 23, which is when you will recognize and know the vision that will allow your heart to lead the way. Now, there are several astrological transits that play into the ups and downs of this week. Probably most importantly is the full moon in Aquarius. That's tomorrow, Saturday. It will trigger a karmic shift in fate. This full moon is the official releasing of your attachment to the, let's say, suffering life and embracing the attachment to the good life, or the gooder life, as we like to say. Every sun sign is going to break away from an old timeline officially and sail for the new Atlantis timeline into the future. Now, after this full moon, which happens Saturday, we have several things that will happen that sort of play this event forward. We have on August 10th, Mars trining Pluto, which will create an emotional upheaval in people. That upheaval may be the realization of what's about to happen, many relationships, jobs, things ending for new ones. On August 11th, a 27-hour Pisces void of moon course. This will spiritually be the actual energetic transition. You will be a bit spaced out. And ironically, during that spaced out period, Mercury will station direct at 4 degrees Leo. By the way, 4 degrees Leo, where Mercury stations direct, means that our mind will be on a self-love revolution. Self-love revolution means that your mind will agree with the heart for once that life is only worth living if you're loving yourself and you're loving yourself some more, enjoying what life is all about. Then Venus makes love to Jupiter, kind of sealing the deal with the consummation, with a conjunction on August 12th. And all these things will be actually covered in much greater detail if you're a subscriber to SeriousJoy.com. Visit SeriousJoy.com. We provide details on each of these transits for each of the 12 signs. But for you, my friends, let's give you a little summary. We're going to focus first on that full moon and tell you where the narratives are of all 12 signs with our soul horoscopes.
Hello, I'm Sanandra, founder of CT Organics. We are celebrating our 30th year anniversary as a small business with simple, clean, organic skin and hair care made with love. To celebrate our 30-year anniversary, enter code word JOY30 at checkout and you'll receive 30% off any individual CT skin and hair care product.
Happy anniversary, CG!
From the creators of 40 Days of Past Lives and Karma and 40 Days of Self-Love comes the class you've been waiting for, an introduction to Step Astrology. That's right, I'm sharing some of my inside secrets on how to read a chart according to Step Astrology and help you interpret the stars, whether it's for yourself or for clients. Welcome back to Soul Horoscopes. This part of the series is the oldest running part of the series. 19 full years of doing all 12 horoscopes, at least once a week. Used to be once a day for 5 days a week, but we're happy to be on the air and helping you still. Now, we have a lot of energy going on that you could equate to drama this week. Energetically, it's good drama, though. As I mentioned before the break, this drama has to do with the fact that we are actually leaving an old timeline. And for editorial purposes, let's say that old timeline is the old self-love story, the way you used to love yourself. And now you're moving to the way you now will love yourself. I think that's a compelling point of view to talk about our narratives in each 12 signs this week. We'll also include some other details I think are important, which is that Mercury will station direct this week at 4 degrees, the self-love revolution. So the mind is ready to hold a revolution. And by the way, that's with yourself. It may mean you start a diet. It may mean you do something new for your daily life. It may mean you move out of a house or a family situation. But it's self-love for sure. That full moon is also a major aspect. As I said, the full moon in Aquarius, conjuncting the Earth in Aquarius, means that we'll break away and detach from all the associations we had. That's all the society that came with that old self-love story. So we're going to see some major social migration going on here over the week. That full moon then shifts to now empower a very faded, at step 16, net 7, faded social ambition. So we'll turn toward the society we will most be known for and our friends that we'll be with. And that transition, of course, happens tomorrow. This is broadcast day on the full moon on August 9th. But then I think to sauce it up even more, on Tuesday at 1:30 a.m. Eastern time, Venus will make love to Jupiter. That means that Venus will embrace and open up Jupiter's power. That's at step 14 Cancer. Now, step 14 Cancer is where the star Sirius is located. So this is a triple, a Venus conjunct Jupiter on Sirius, much less. Mind you, Sirius is the galactic civilization responsible for the family unit, which, by the way, is in Cancer. And by the way, I think was in the same place 26,000 years ago when this was first realized in Atlantis. Yeah, off track there, but not. It is why we feel like this is the new Atlantis timeline being born with Venus conjunct Sirius at this time. By the way, the conjunction of Sirius was often what the real Lionsgate was about. I talked about that last week. Either way, it means a major star-studded conjunction or change of how you care about yourself. This caring change about yourself is really an idea or a thought, because step 14 nets to a 5, which means it's going to manifest or materialize as an intellectual state of awareness or intellectual property in your mind. Putting it very simply, it means you're going to come up with a new term for home, a new term for family. And it's that new term for home or family that actually allows you to leave the dark, icky eggs for the golden egg of your life, the story you were born to live. So let's take a look at each of the signs, their narratives, and how it plays out for them. Starting with the Aries. Aries, your self-love story used to be about how fabulous you are, and you're mostly convincing us about it instead of actually being it. It was all about showing off, being big, being expressive, etc., etc. But now it's no longer that. It is moving to a true self-love story that after getting not the applause and fans that you wanted, and also you quitting before the very end of those topics, you now realize that life is about your personal joy, not your personal achievements. This also comes, of course, with your story about how you have been healing your ego, getting out the macho energy, and really removing yourself from the fight or flight ego. You are the leaders of ego. So why is it that you are now trailblazers? You might wonder why we use that term with you. It's because it's time to trailblaze. And what's trailblazing for you? Being the first ones to have an Aquarius life. That's right. You are here to live the Atlantis Aquarius life before anybody. You're always supposed to be first. You knew that. But it wasn't first to win money or do material things. It was first to live an intellectual vibrational thing, that you're supposed to stand up and be the first that live in the age of Aquarius now and do it before anyone else. You could say you are the pilgrims of the new era. And now it's time to set sail for what that means. It means, first of all, a radical self-love revolution, where self-love is not about getting applause from the world. It's about getting applause from yourself, being in a contest with yourself, being in a day-to-day, greater than yesterday approach to life. You're supposed to be fighting to win the applause of your own heart and to love what you do and to sort of be kind of like a Leo in that sense. Aries are, by nature of who they are, a little bit of every sign. That's why they're the natural Zodiac template. So it's time to think like a Leo, should I say, but not just a Leo, an evolved Leo, a Leo that knows that the power comes from within, the sun's light and heat comes from within. And so it's time to be the star you really are. And with Sirius in the picture, I find it fascinating for you. So what that means now in your story is, well, now to move on to this new trailblazer story. Step 1 is, of course, to love yourself and love yourself some more. The next step will be the moon, step 2, where we have a full moon in Earth in Aquarius. Now, the full moon for you means you will officially detach from your old society. You might have a friend that just does it too many times. You might have something you witness you just can't unsee anymore. Or you may just find yourself dull and bored like crazy in your normal social scene. That's what the full moon's about. Expect a blasé weekend. But then the moon then moves on to the higher degrees of Aquarius, pulling you into where things are to become, which is personal social ambition. Perhaps you may feel pulled to make a difference, a different kind of difference. I'm suggesting you do make a difference. That you be an example with Aquarius in your 11th house, an example of what the new age is supposed to be. And that may mean a change in what you do or your business or your brand or your marketing, any of the above, but you'll be feeling a spiritual destiny to go into that new light. So Aries is over the weekend really feeling that call to a new ambition in society, and could quite well be something we've never seen before, never been done before, never been dared before. You're the most daring. Well, you be the first person to go on the teletransport. You be the one to actually be zipped up to another planet through a Stargate. You do that. That's what we're counting on you to do. Now, I think the real thing that makes it saucy and come together has to do with the fact that we have Venus conjoining Jupiter in Cancer this week. That's going to be in your 4th house. And what that means is a new idea about emotional security. I feel that most Aries that I've known have mostly looked at emotional security as simply shelter, that you had the shelter over your head, that you had a place to sleep, your bed was barely made, and things were pretty clean if you had someone to hire, not if you did it yourself. Now I feel like this new emotional conjunction has to do with feeling grounded, feeling at home when you're at home, feeling nurtured when you're at home. See, that's the thing. If you Aries, who are rough and gruff and have calluses over everything, are going to actually become polished and part of the new Jetson age, you're going to need a lot more Jetson care. I would suggest being the first ones to buy a Tesla robot, for instance. Go ahead and go the 9 yards, be innovative in all those ways. But in essence, you can't think about your feelings the way you have thought about your feelings in the past, which I think is some pesty pest that needs to go and go right away. It's now time to look at your feelings as your own servant, the part of you that makes and breaks you, and the part of you that allows you to be. So the story of Aries is they're about to become a lot more shiny. They're allowed to be actual celebrities because they're going to do something we're afraid to do. You're going to ascend first. Taurus. Taurus, you are changing now into a new light, which we call the master builders. That's because in this new era of New Atlantis, you're here to build the new era and build the businesses and the exchanges and the brands and the trademarks and all these things. In the old, I think, perspective of you, your self-love came down to providing and simply providing. You were the ones that brought the food, made all the essentials to life itself. Now, Tauruses will be building all the eclectic and new age fun things in life, the things that bring the sparkle, the things that bring the joy. So Tauruses are master builders because they're here now to build the new age. Aquarius is for them their 10th house, what their career and their legacy is. And Pluto just entered your 10th house, which means you have just actually begun your career. You've been wrapping up the old career this entire time. Now, with that said, this week is going to be compelling for you because it really deals with how you love yourself and your feelings. Self-love revolution for you means the way you think of how you feel has to be different. I know a lot of Tauruses that basically maybe overthink how they feel from a kind of victim, please mommy me kind of way, where they expect to be nurtured and cared for by other people. Truth be told, Taurus, only you know where the sore spot is. Only you know what doesn't feel right. And so you must go in and nurture yourself and rub that sore spot yourself or respond to yourself in a way that your heart is really hoping and wanting. So to be a self-feeding cow, now that's a thing, isn't it? Imagine if cows could self-feed and farmers just sat back and watched it all happen. That's kind of what's happening. You're becoming a self-fed Taurus, where you feed your own love, you feed your own nurturing, you are babying your own inner calf. And as a result, you are standing tall to be a bright leader and also, not just leader, but builder and leader of the new era. Now, that's what the full moon in Aquarius is about. Officially, with that full moon on Saturday, you will detach from your old spiritual timeline of what your career was. And I have to say, as a Taurus myself, the career was always getting back into power, past life memories of where I know I was supposed to be, and trying to, learn from my mistakes, but in most cases, making them at least 3 times in order to learn from them. And then from there, you then move to your true legacy and your true leadership. So emotionally, the full moon allows you to let go of the old career karma and move on to the new career vision. If you've been a Taurus waiting for a sign that it's time to actually get started with this, the time is actually now. This full moon is where your new projects and everything else must now begin. Anything prior to this we'll call a prototype. Now, with the Venus conjunction of Jupiter in Cancer, it means that you're also going to have to, at the same time, look at the way you think differently. The way you think has got to change. You have basically been a worrier, not a warrior, a worrier. Okay, I said it to myself, where you have allowed your emotions to overtake your mind, and you've spent a lot of your percentage of your thinking on trying to avoid drama or pain or feelings. And so all of your intelligence was going to avoiding a feeling, avoiding a topic, avoiding a this, avoiding discussion. And now it's time to switch to approaching the new innovative thought. In other words, thinking and thoughts that actually make you not only feel better, but also put into your mind this idea that you will always feel good. That's a given. That's where we wrap up again with the sun in Leo. As we move into the sun in Leo, after having gone through the divorce of the old career, now Tauruses are building basically the golden barn. This golden barn is a castle. It's a place where you will thrive because you were treated so well in all the areas you need to be treated that you walk through your life as if it was a coordinated shot of an opening of a film, right? Just amazing, beautiful camera work and you moving all along. Now, remember, the key of this is going to be this full moon detachment. Once you have to detach, leave it go, let other people handle it. And then secondly, with Mercury direct, a self-love revolution. Where is that? With the way you think about your feelings. Gemini, in the old days, you were the chit-chatters, the talkers, the pensive ones, and maybe the cuckoo ones. A lot of people have thought of Geminis as the ones that were hiding something in their mind. And the truth is you're hiding everything in your mind. But now we're coining you as the mental gems here at Serious Joy, because now your thoughts are brilliant. Not yet, they will be, frankly, and this month is the reason why. See, Geminis in the old school of Gemini, we're trying to use logic, science, and reason to get out of trouble, avoid trouble, and get ahead. In other words, you were basically over ramping up your mind. It was like speeding up your computer, but not changing any of the other parts in the computer. So yes, you got faster, but the rest of you could not keep up or could not relate whatsoever. Now, after this weekend, things change because of the full moon, because you are now going to assemble and connect your thinking with your creativity. Geminis are officially becoming mental gems because they're being a creative mentalist. They're going to allow their heart and their joy and what they wish could be true to be what's actually true. So you could say you're letting down the floodgates of love and creativity to flood into your mind and forgetting whether or not it's logical or makes the most sense, letting the most creative idea float to the top and the dullest ideas sink to the bottom. That is the new mental gem, basically, the new Gemini. And with the full moon in Aquarius, this is the shifting part because you are detaching emotionally from your old beliefs. Old beliefs being you no longer care about what your parents think, about religion, about TV film. You no longer care about fitting into society. You no longer care about your beliefs being anything along the likes of what we already know in astrology or for yourself. And instead, you're now putting your feelings and beliefs on what your heart believes it is. So you could say that Geminis are going to go rogue. They're going to start to go off on their own religion, and they're going to start to follow what they feel is the truth. Here's the thing. You have Aquarius energy in the sign of your in your beliefs. So that means by following your beliefs, you're actually, when you connect to your heart, channeling the new belief structure. I believe Geminis are going to basically write the new legislation. They're going to write the new laws of what we believe and don't believe. You're going to basically create logic out of new age. And this is the shift that will happen. This is your life path mystery and also mastery. Now, with the Venus conjunction of Jupiter in Cancer, this is something that has to change to go along with it. You've got to open up and incorporate your feelings into your values. You have to recognize in your mind that your emotional feeling is a big part of your soul economy. That if you don't feel good, you don't think you're worth anything. And as a result, you end up manifesting and materializing just that. So that must be in place, this new emotional attitude about value. That if it doesn't feel good, it doesn't matter how good of an idea it is disqualified. And if it feels good, even if the idea is a little weak, it's most likely to succeed because an emotional vibration is a manifestation of abundance. You can't be abundant with thoughts. You can be abundant with feelings. So for the arc of you becoming a mental gem this week, I find it interesting. It means that you now must deliberately think differently according to what your heart wishes it was. Ignore the truth, ignore all the belief structures on earth, and go ahead and be the rebel you were born to be. Cancers, I am fascinated with your change. And I have to say, in many cases, I haven't seen it yet. I'm not kidding. You and Capricorns are on a certain list for me, which is, we don't know. We don't know if it's going to work out. I mean that as far as a new era. You see, the old Cancers' definition of who they were was a child that was a moon mother. We now call them the moon child. We're saying now Cancers must not be the mother, they must mother their own inner child. When the Cancer takes their power of nurturing and applies it to themselves, they become like a nuclear power plant of emotional care. They not only can care for themselves, but probably 20 communities around them. But a Cancer who puts all their feelings and emotion in just one person, or one codependency, or one narcissist, which is the classic Cancer line, they find themselves tapped and unable to be their sparkle. So this week is the big turning point to the new era. First of all and foremost, you have a self-love revolution when it comes to what you are worth. You know damn well what you're worth, but you have not allowed yourself to actually follow through with it. It's like knowing what the worth of $1 is, paying with 100 and not expecting change. You know you have $99 coming back, but you never collect on that stuff because you did not actually step up and think like you were worthy as you were. I don't know why you humbled yourself for the patient, but you were already helping them. So I don't know what the trouble was. We'll talk about that in heaven. Now, however, it's time to be different. It's time to assume your worth, to know that you're still cheaper than modern healthcare and that you're worth and better most any nurse that you could possibly get for the situation, knowing what you're worth. This is what transforms your big arc point, which is trust and intimacy issues. You see, the full moon on Saturday is you emotionally detaching from all the people that needed you and that you needed. And that need was codependence, and that need was based on helping each other out, but basically you always feeding them for you to also have to feed yourself later. You're actually already taking care of yourself. It was just later when you were tired and depleted. So the full moon is leaving behind all these relationships where the trust issue is based on they need you and therefore you're worth something. Now it's that you need you and therefore you're worth a lot more. All right. So the shift happens really with an emotional boundary on the full moon, that you just emotionally don't let it get to you anymore. And that's what the secret is. It comes down to you not letting you get upset about it. It has nothing to do with changing their behavior. That is a sort of, what's the word? Dictatorship kind of attitude when it comes to relationships. You say you care for people, but then you act like a dictator that you're the only one that can save, right? So now it's time to embrace that your feelings are important and that they are your value, and that without feeling good, you will not have good self-worth. And without self-worth, you will not manifest real change. If you notice a lot of things you tried to change, you haven't been able to because you yourself haven't. That full moon means that you separate from those old boundaries, you embrace to the new boundaries, and that allows you to shift in your heart from the old soul economy to the new soul economy. That your new value and your new worth is based on the fact that you have already treated yourself like that before you met anyone. Here's the key thing, though. That conjunction between Venus and Jupiter and the star Sirius means that you've got to have a serious new attitude in the world. You must no longer wear that name tag of, hey, walk on me, and instead put on another name tag that says, can you afford me? That's the question. Leos, happy birthday, by the way. Happy reinvention. I've been watching you very closely because I'm a Leo rising and Leo moon, so I don't even know if I can speak objectively here, but I'll try. In the old self-love story of Leo, it was all about putting yourself in the hands of attention. You wanted attention and followers and likes and views and all these different things that showed everyone that you were lovable and that you were amazing. But then, those of us who are background being your friend, we're the ones actually having to keep propping you up when there were no applause. And so Leos have been, in a way, it's kind of like the sun sucking its light off the star Sirius and all the other stars. The sun was saying it needed the brightness of the other stars in order to be a star. Not true. You're already hot. You're already burning yourself at the core. You can't get enough of yourself. You eat yourself up. That's called fusion reaction. And what you're doing in essence, in this birthday period is shifting to a new power source. In essence, the Leos are stars because their heart says they are, period. That's it. A star shines in the space and doesn't have to talk to anyone. It's there twinkling for billions of years for everyone. That's what a star is. That's what you're supposed to be. And it's because you love yourself more than anybody could ever love you, more than anybody. And so this birthday shift is a shift to the leaders of love. That's what you're going to be. You're going to be a leader of self-love. All the other signs don't know how to love themselves. They all feel embarrassed and have issues like you did the entire first part of your life. But now you shine bright. Now, where this happens actually is in relationships, believe it or not. You have allowed yourself in long-term partner relationships and in partnerships and business relationships, you've allowed yourself to be under that old regime where they all thought you were fabulous and you thought they were lucky to have your time. And so in essence, it was a different relationship where you were kind of emotionally detached. You didn't share any of your stuff with the people. You weren't really close, even though you spent a lot of time with them. And even though you spent time together, both parties would say, it's kind of an empty relationship. Nothing really fun going on. Now you're going to be emotionally incredibly devoted to someone. You're ready to have one incredible, intimate relationship. You're ready to have close relationships with your favorite people, your favorite vendors. And that's because your heart is no longer looking from outside applause. Your heart is now looking for inside applause. You're looking to love yourself and love yourself some more, even on a bad, rainy day. Now, the key to this is to look differently at your karma. You could say that the old Leo felt like they owed the world something. And strangely enough, they came out saying the world owed them. And that was their way of handling it. But the truth of the matter is you don't owe the world anything. You have been a human being like everyone else. And so the serious Jupiter-Venus conjunction, I think, is a mental change and a mental attitude about your karma and what you owe the world. What you realize is it's not that you ever owed the world anything. It's that you had an emotional issue you weren't facing. You had a thorn in your paw that you wouldn't pull out. And so you had to emotionally face that and realize that you will be fine because you nurture yourself to that place, because you bring yourself to that place, because you are your own, royal servant. And by coming out on stage, having served yourself, you will be first time in your life truly of real service to the world. Virgos, your old self-love story was really that you didn't love yourself and you were convinced that yourself might be the problem. And so there was no self-love, basically. There was only criticism. There was not self-love. There was low faith that you would pull it off. Truthfully, you never really thought, because as soon as you found one detail, you found 10 more, right? Well, now we call you the virtuosos, because not only are you good, but you're gooder than everyone else. Virgos actually do it better than almost everyone else. And guess what? If we could, we wouldn't do it. We don't care to be as good as you. And you're learning that it's only something you really get off on, is being this virtuoso. So once you own faith based on your definition of virtuoso, your definition of playing the earth like a Stradivarius, then you'll be in the power of Virgo, the I become energy. And what that is an ability to become any fucking thing you want to become. That's what Virgo is. You can just be anything you want. The problem is choosing, really. Problem is choosing. And that's ironically what's going to happen. You see, your self-love revolution, first of all, is that you are not in trouble with anyone, including yourself. That you should absolutely have faith in yourself, because it turns out you are not only the one on trial, you're also the judge and jury. And having all those seats means you're going to win the race. You're going to win anything. You're going to get the benchmark remarks that you want from the Supreme Court. You. And with you being the guide or the Supreme Justice of the Supreme Court, it means that you are officially not guilty for anything, and you are pardoned for everything. And that means that now you can actually shine bright and show off all your amazing talents that you have that we wish we had also. And that's true. We wish we did. Now, the key to this is that full moon, as we mentioned. That full moon for you happens to be with lifestyle. You see, you've allowed yourself to live this life of being overtapped, underpaid, and overworked. It was your design. You felt you had to prove something, perhaps prove how intelligent you are, or prove to us how intelligent you are, or prove to yourself that you can do it. But the old lifestyle was based on proving. And so that's what you've done. Prove, prove, prove. Problem is that the person judging who's proving is you, and the benchmark keeps moving higher and higher. And so really you found yourself with a dangling carrot in front of yourself, just walking endlessly through the desert, never getting paid or fed. Now the full moon says we are going to cut away from that old timeline, that you are now going to live in a life of faith. And that life of faith is based simply on the fact that you love yourself and automatically pardon yourself for any mistake. You got an auto pardon. That's what brings out the virtuoso, that you will always, always, always get away with every mistake, because we'll be grateful you're doing the work we don't want to do. That's why. It's like, you go ahead. It's okay. You made mistakes on reorganizing the garage. I don't care. It's good for me. You did it. You have the jobs that people don't want. That's part of the issue. And we are so grateful for you, I have to say. So the new full moon says hello to the age of Aquarius. In fact, like the Aries, Virgos are supposed to build the first age of Aquarius life. Aries and Virgos, they're building the first age of Aquarius life. It's time to start cracking. You know what that means. Clean water, clean food, the ability to live with clean air. The earth's a mess. You got plenty of things to vacuum now, and allow yourself to feel attached to creating this new world, this new civilization. You will be in that process. Now, another thing to be very careful of is this conjunction with Venus and Jupiter and Sirius, which for you happens in your heart of all hearts of energies. This happens to be energetically with your daily lifestyles we were talking about. This happens to be with your personal choice when it comes to your place in society. You got the opposite of the houses. You have always felt like you're supposed to be society's servant. All the old astrology says that. Like you're the servant of the world. You're the ones that cleans the house. You're the ones that do this. And you emotionally felt obligated. So with this conjunction, it's a flip of the switch. It's a flip of the switch, and it says, no, you're not here to clean the world or vacuum things up. You're actually here to care for the world, or to be a leader in how to care for oneself. In other words, you're here to teach us how to care for ourselves, not be the actual one having to do the caring. That leaves you a lot more time to care for yourself, by the way, which is part of the reason why you were complaining. You were taking care of everyone else and you never got the care. Now you just fired that whole list of vendors that wanted your care. Now you can give it to yourself. So in essence, the old self-love story is you had no faith in life because you weren't giving yourself a pardon. The new self-love story is you have great faith in life and you will be the builders and the probably controllers of the new era. Libras, your self-love story was that you were also at the mercy of society, in the sense that your self-love dealt with the fact that you had to be a person that gave, and that you, if nothing else, zeroed yourself out, that you had no opinion, that you personally had nothing at stake, which was all bullshit. We knew that the whole time, but we allowed you to play that game and you allowed yourself to play it. So now you are not going to be people that are out there making yourself quiet so that you can be the balance beam that people use, but instead to be the peace artists, that you actually have an artistry and a creative beauty about how you create peace, about how you approach things. And you're going to be the demonstration of how we live in peace. You will be the peaceful example of the new Atlantis timeline. That peaceful example has a lot to do with your social ambition. So your self-love revolution is that your heart doesn't belong being the fair one. You belong being the one that makes the choice. You belong being the one that has the final word. You belong being the leader, not the follower and the servant. You're here to lead because you do make peaceful choices, because you do choose what is the fairest, therefore. So instead of a judge being a judge, the judge needs to be president, is what needs to happen. That's what basically these archetype is doing. Now, the full moon in Aquarius is going to be your opportunity to split. This split has to do with your daily lifestyle energetically, and how your daily lifestyle needs to change. You have had, up until now, this lifestyle where you've allowed yourself to ultimately give up your heart's desires, turn your back on what true love is, not pursue love for love's sake, but pursue love for diplomatic sake. Make the artist project that everyone will like. Choose to create a story that will please everyone. You basically have had this life of giving your heart away so the world could be happy. So you've lived without happiness and you've let the world be with their happy. You made it this way. You made yourself sort of an Aquarian martyr. Now the full moon says, no, it's going to be everything your heart wants. And through the laws of attraction, you'll only be around people who want the same thing. And so therefore it's win-win, not because someone sacrificed. It's win-win because that's how the nature of reality is created. That when you pursued your own personal selfish joy, you found yourself in people who also thought that was joy. So the Sirius conjunction is a serious split when it comes to love. And I say Libras are most likely to go through a divorce or separation at this time, most likely over this week. Now, for this all to happen, it does mean that you have to approach something else differently, and that is your career legacy. That you don't have to be the one nurturing and being caring to everyone in the office. You don't have to be the one that worries about how everyone feels in your career. You don't have to worry about how the customer is going to feel or the client's going to feel. Instead, you have to worry about how you feel in the office. So the shift for you is, if you nurture yourself and show up to work feeling great, people will be inspired to feel great. They won't have to be cared for or breastfed by you to feel great. So this taking your power back in your decisions by what feels best to you is how you move into the new self-love story, which was you're here to be a star in your own right. So I look forward to seeing the new Libra stars coming out on the scene anytime soon. Scorpios. Whew. Scorpios are now going to be the peaceful warriors. That's your new self-love story. Because the old story was you were the sacrificial lambs and you were the warriors, one of the two. You either gave up everything and went down with the Titanic to prove God knows what, or you were a Titanic and you beat the crap out of people and you were the one that was the executioner. I always say a Capricorn actually decides to kill someone and then they ask a Scorpio to go do the killing. And you did, without question and loyalty. Well, now that question of loyalty is based on something else, your heart, what you want at the end of the day. You see, Scorpios are ready to be king or queen. They're ready to be leaders. And actually, they want to lead by love. Scorpios have always led by love. They're always led by their heart. The reason why you can't see it is because they're usually bitterly hurt and scorned and have all sorts of wounds that they won't let go of because they want to honor the truth of the memory. Well, now it's time in the self-love revolution to change every decision to yourself to be based on what's the most loving decision for yourself. The most loving decision for yourself, and don't even calculate others, because when you use love to make a decision, everyone is auto-factored into the analysis from God universe. If it's the most loving thing for you, it's the most loving thing for the entire world. Let God be that God. It's not your job. So your revolution is to think about what your heart would want, what your heart desires, and not be concerned about stepping on people. And trust me, you're not going to step on people. At this point, you've been so scorned from it, it could not possibly happen, I don't feel. You have to be a complete moron to still do it. And there are some out there, but I doubt it for Scorpios. Now, the real shift has, again, with the full moon in Aquarius. In this full moon, it means that you have got to emotionally shift between your two childhoods. You had where you came from a bad childhood, and you have now when you came from your own created childhood. In essence, the full moon says the age of Aquarius, the new Atlantis timeline, is that Scorpios build the perfect Atlantis for themselves, the perfect emotional island where you can go home and you are completely separated from the world's crap and all the BS and everything else. And you just feel grounded and at home because it's your home, your rules, your vibration, your way, or the highway. That allows your heart to make real choices at work because you don't come to work or career feeling depleted or hurt or wounded. You don't bring your emotions to the table when you make decisions. And most importantly, you don't make decisions based on survival. You make decisions based on thrival. So the full moon allows you to have this new foundation where you come from your home, not a bad home. That gives you the strength to choose from your heart and not worry about pleasing others. And the last point is this conjunction with Venus, Sirius, and Jupiter. This triple conjunction has to do with your beliefs in life, and that your beliefs in life are often based on how you feel. And so if you commit to always feeling good before you go into your philosophy and your beliefs, then all of your beliefs will be based on the philosophy of living a good life. That Sirius conjunction is the spark of a new belief structure based on feeling good. Sagittarius is. Sagittarius, the old you are kind of funny. I've been watching you very much so. And in the old you were always this sort of magical butterfly or talking grasshopper, smoking a pipe. Like that's you, all right, Jiminy Cricket and whatnot. You are the personality that shows up with all this wisdom out of nowhere, usually an animated character, and ultimately it's giving us the philosophies of life. And that's cool. You're kind of like the guy that showed up that told us what life is like in the last scene. Now you are different. You are the unicorn. You are the story. You are the one that's most interesting in the room, not because you know more about history and culture, but because you have chosen things that nobody else has ever thought of putting together. You're literally a unicorn. We've never seen one like you. And that's what's going to be cool because the age of Aquarius and the new Atlantis timeline is about individuality. It's about being something we don't see. People will strive to be so different you had no idea or saw that coming. And you are here to be those first unicorns, to be the rainbow example with fairy dust coming out of your butt of what the new world can be by being who you are. Weird, right? And different. And an anomaly of all sorts of weird choices from the world. Now, that mastery and that shift comes really from an attitude adjustment. You see, your mind has always been sign of the times. You always use the colloquial everyone uses. You use the cool hip terms and the hashtags and all. You're just always with it, man. And the thing is that what you've been with it has been something that's been dying. That old culture is over. The culture of being dominating and domineering and all this control stuff is over. So you literally are changing your mindset, your thoughtware, to upgrade now to a new Aquarian, new Atlantis thoughtware. This thoughtware allows your heart to believe in what it really believes in, okay? And the thing is that Sagittarius never tell you what their beliefs are. They'll tell you what's been said, what's been known, or whatever. When you corner them for their beliefs, they're silent because they're afraid you won't like it because it's what their heart wishes was true, but they can't prove is true. You're basically now moving to a belief structure of being wish upon a star, that your heart's wishes are your beliefs. And by the way, because you're the masters of belief structure, by wishing on your choice, you change our beliefs. We now believe in unicorns once you allow yourself to become one because you lead belief structure. You don't follow it. So you could say that's a big change. You're unicorns now because you're going to lead the belief structure. You're not going to follow it. Very interesting. Just realize that right here on the air. Now, for this all to happen, it means you got to change the way you draw boundaries. Right now, you basically draw a boundary according to the emotional tension in the room. So if there's a real emotional tension around some 500-foot gorilla, you draw the boundary way around the gorilla. You never cut the gorilla out. You're trying to avoid conflict. You're trying to avoid feeling bad. Now you're going to realize that you can make yourself feel better with a snap. If that's the case, there's no problem disrupting somebody with the proper boundary. So you're going to shift now from what the boundary was to accommodate to the boundary of what it must do in order to accommodate all. You're going to draw lines with people and relationships, everything based on how you truly feel. And for whatever reason, you haven't incorporated your feelings into your decisions, but now it's time to. So the Sagittariuses, I feel, become far more intimate and close to people because they now are no longer basing their feelings on danger. They're basing their feelings on safety and closeness. Pretty interesting. Capricorns. Capricorns, you are making remarkable change now to a new era. And the thing is that you were the captors before. You kept us under your hostage. Capricorns always overreach with power, just like we said with the Dallas thing and the Texas thing. You always kind of cheated if you get away with it, and if no one was looking, sort of thing. And I'm not trying to mark you out as evil, but that's what happened. Like for whatever reason, you feel like you have a right to be in power, and you do. But what happened was that right meant that you took it no matter what, under all control, and you were very, uncompromising and what's the word? Unfair, toward your advantage. You just happened. That's the old Capricorn. That's what built us this corporate empire we know as America. But now it's changed. Pluto went through your sign and flattened you. You've been hit by the bus, Pluto, which said, stop that or you're going to die. And it means it, by the way. So for those of you I keep seeing starting to cheat still, that's going to come down really hard. Be careful, all right? Now, the new Capricorn is the captivators. We call you the captivators because we're going to be captivated by what you do. If you put your heart, and that's what it's about, your heart, and use your heart to make all of your choices, to make those final lines, like how much should we pay our employees? Let your heart decide. How much should I give to this person, my family? Let your heart decide. How much should I let this go? It doesn't matter. Let your heart decide. If your heart is the part of you that draws the line, then you will be a new era Capricorn, period, because it's based on love. And that means that your self-love revolution means probably that you're no longer a dictator to yourself. I think, honestly, you've held your own self-love under captive. I think you've told yourself you're not going to love yourself until you're perfect. And so because you keep changing the definition of perfect, you've actually never loved yourself or fed yourself with self-love. You may do this big empire, but you never felt good about it, never let yourself feel good about it, never loved yourself for it, ever. That's what made you dark if you went dark, was that. The revolution at Mercury at 4 direct, Mercury says, now your mind will be loving with all things inside yourself. There will be no punishment. There'll be no harm. There'll be no guilt and all these things your heart has played before. That opens up everything up, my friend, for you now to change your entire life because of it. If you base every boundary on love, you will transform into the new Capricorn. Here's the thing that I think is going to motivate you. If you don't do the self-love thing, you'll actually find yourself in the old decaying economy and not in the new economy. Because this energy in Capricorn has to do with new age and old age money. Old age money is there's a few Capricorn families that own all the wealth and you're lucky to borrow from us at a compounded rate. The new reality is everyone can borrow and everyone is worthy and everyone gets a chance. All right. And so if you become this new age economy by choosing and drawing lines based on love, you will be leaders in the new world, new leaders in the new era, and the business leaders of all the new industries. So that transformation has to do with intimacy inside yourself, but it leads us to your abundance and being wealthy in the new world. And by the way, wealthy in the new world may not be actual money. It may be that you are around some of the most amazing people. Maybe that you're around the greatest intellects. It can mean a lot of things in the new world. Now, for all this to happen, you've got to make a major change in your marriage and partnerships. The Sun-Jupiter conjunction with Venus, the Venus-Jupiter Sirius conjunction is in the house of emotion. You cannot look to your partnerships as the people you emotionally hang on. You must look on your partnerships as an emotional equality, that you come to the table emotionally sound, and that each coming to that table that way, can help each other in a real non-codependent way. Aquas, I'm seeing so much change in you, and it's fascinating to watch. One for the books, indeed. Now, for you, the old Aquariuses, I think I called the innovators. You're the ones that just want to innovate all the time, make things better, 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 better. Yep, that's cool. It wasn't cool when we just innovated and you told us to innovate again. That was always annoying, but that's okay. We got through that period together. We'll be all right. Now you're not the ones telling us to innovate. You're the ones doing it. We call you the forerunners. It's time for you to do it, and we will watch you do it. We don't want to hear about how we're wrong. We want to see what you do. And now you're going to be the ones who can or the ones who prove and lead. So the innovators are now the forerunners. And the forerunners can only forerun if there's a love revolution with their mirage. That Mercury at 4 degree means that your mind has got to be loving to yourself by default. You got to love yourself by default. You got to love yourself as an assumption of who you are, not whether or not you deserve it. And so if in your mirage, you are in love with who you are and who you're becoming, nobody's perfect, everyone's on the path of perfection, then you will have the greatest mirage to have the greatest marriages. You see, the world cannot actually pull it off without you partnering with the world. Part of what you're here to do is partner with the world. It will not be in this new world one man or one woman that does it all. That was the old world. That's the way it was. It'll be a community, a team, a group of others. And for that to happen, you have to be the hub of the wheel. We have to all love you in the room. That means you have to love us back and not shadow ban us or ghost us when we don't say something you like. You've got to actually love yourself. So when people make mistakes in front of you, you love them too. So you energetically are stepping into a new love story with your friends, your family, your partners, your colleagues. And what that also means is that by stepping into that, we're seeing a new you. In fact, the full moon is a light switch between the old you and the new you. I expect a full system upgrade to happen almost overnight, frankly, by the way you work. You know exactly the way you want to be in the moment, and most of the time you don't have the courage to do it. What you call courage is actually self-love in the background. You don't have the me-rage to support being a weirdo. You don't have the me-rage to support stepping out there where no man or woman would step out before. You just haven't had the self-love in the background to be the first, the best, and the brightest officially, all right? It's always been unofficial, bitching in the break rooms. So you're going to be a character now, a character known for something. And I think that full moon will be the spark of what that character title is. The world's greatest, the world's best, the world's first, whatever. It may certainly be a word we've never heard of because you have the right to create words. And it's going to be you living as an example in a new era. You're the forerunners because you are the example. You're telling us how it's done. And we have to see it. We're not going to believe it to hear it. We're not going to be able to comprehend it by hearing you talk about it. We got to watch it. We got to see it. We got to observe for ourselves. Our human powers of observation have to watch you be the age of Aquarius. You must become the age of Aquarius in every action you do. Now, for this to happen, you need a major change in your daily lifestyle. All right. Because your lifestyle right now allows your emotions to get the best of you. And that's because your mind allows your emotions to get the best of you. Your mind continues the argument and doesn't conclude where you belong. Your mind argues versus just declare where you belong. This is where it is. This is where I belong. And so because you stay there going back and forth about the declaration of you belonging here, I'm not sure why, maybe you're afraid of disrupting others. You basically just created more waves in the pool and you never really just calm the pool. So you're meant to come from a cool fountain. You're meant to work in cool landscapes of high frequency. And the only way you'll be in high frequency is if you decide in your mind, you're not going to go there. You're going to let your mind re-entertain it, reanimate it, create it into another emotional drama. So if you thought before this broadcast that you were emotionally sensitive, flip that switch with this particular conjunction with Sirius and say that your heart belongs being the one that calms, not the one that asks if you're the one disrupting. So you basically have to realize that when you are calm, you have the right to disrupt. And if you are not emotionally calm, you will not have the right to disrupt. But only those who are calm deserve the right to disrupt because they're both disrupting and then they're catching and calming in the other hand. That is what the two wavy lines of Aquarius means to me anyways. So good luck. We'll see you in a week. Pisces. The Pisces. I'm excited to watch your change. You know, the old you, I would have called the creative alcoholics because that's what you were, creative alcoholics, escaping, but very, very clever and creative and always fun to be around. Now you are the dream weavers. In other words, you are helping humankind to crochet this magical coat of dreams, that every dream can become a reality. You have the ability to live in the dream world and the present at the same time. You have the ability to live in the afterlife and the present life in the same time. You bridge the truth of heaven and the kingdom of heaven and the company of heaven is what I'm trying to say. You bridge what's, the amazing magic of where we come from to the practical symbol of where we are. And so this is what allows you to be this magical kind of person. You are meant to live in the love, live in this field of love all day. You have Leo in the sign of lifestyle. That means you're meant to be a star at work, a bright star when you go places. You're meant to bring the God service to the table. You're meant to be the modem that God comes through. And that means that you live in your heart day to day. So the self-love revolution for you has to do with really how you treat your body, believe it or not. If your body's in perfect health, you're going to be a success in the new era, period. You just treat your body like gold. You treat your moment like gold. You make your moment the gold in your life, and then you will have a golden life. That's simply how it'll be. Now, this only happens if you let go of karma. You see, the full moon in Aquarius says you can no longer feel like you are a sinner. You cannot feel guilty. You cannot carry any past life guilt or anything. You have got to forgive yourself for everything, because only once you forgive yourself do you take the power of God into your hands, which you're supposed to have as a child of God, by the way. It's yours. You were born with that birthright. So the full moon is a turning point where you no longer let the past get to you. You simply just don't let it off. You brush it off your coat. And instead you embrace a faithful now, which leads to a faithful future. Now, for this to all happen, it does mean one thing, that you have to have also a bit of a revolution in your heart. You see, you've always had the default attitude in your mind that your heart would come true, your dreams would come true, maybe if it was in the stars, or it would if you were good enough, or it would be if you don't sin or don't do this. But it always had these rules outside of you that determined whether or not you will have true love of your life, true love of your partner, true love of your children. The answer is after this conjunction, because this conjunction says you don't belong thinking like you may deserve love. You belong thinking like you are walking love. And so therefore you deserve unconditional and abundant love, the most love that anyone can happen in a life. So the new attitude with Sun Sirius is, I am love. I deserve to have the greatest love, greatest creations, greatest things in life. And the shift, I think, from the creative alcoholics to the dream weavers comes down from that shift I said earlier, the self-love revolution of living good in your body, and also the realization that you deserve no punishment because you are officially not guilty. All right, friends, that is our new horoscopes. I hope you enjoy them. We're getting more and more narrative every week. We love your comments, by the way. Tell us how we're doing. We're a work in progress, if you will, which we think is a decent way of doing life. We'll be back 1 week from now. Enjoy this tour of Leo and the full moon, and tell us if you want in the comments exactly where you belong now. Where's your self-love revolution? Until next week, I'm Christopher Wotecki. I love you. Live, love, be.
Coming up on Serious Joy. Join Sensei Christopher and co-host psychic medium Scott Cruz live on Wednesday nights at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. Then tune into ASTROMINGLE for a mega astro conversation with guest Natha Perkins of Electra Astrology. The best in enlightened entertainment, only on Serious Joy TV.